Hello and welcome to our Developer Works training video. Today we're going to cover how to create a custom text analytics extractor using the Big Insights text analytics development tool. The use case is a car rental company wanted to keep a close eye on hourly and daily fluctuations on car rental rates. Let's begin. First, you have to create a project. Click on Project. We click on the little green plus sign, which is the new project. And we're going to call it Log Extraction Exercise or something similar. Click on Create. That gives us our new project. Now we add a test document to help us create the extractor. I click on the plus here to add documents. There are local files on my computer. I click on Browse, and I see my document here. I click on Open, and I click on Add. On the right-hand side, you see the example of the document that we're going to be working with. On this first part, we're going to use a ready-made extractor that is supplied with the installation. So we click on the little twisty next to Named Entity Recognition, and we're going to select Date and Time, and drag it over to the work area. Let's test our date and time annotator. Here on the bottom, we can see the results. If we click on it, it gets highlighted on the right-hand side, so we know that it's working correctly. Now we're going to create a new dictionary called Availability. We click on the second icon here for New Dictionary. We call it Availability. And then you'll see in the properties, when you select it, you get to enter the term Availability Request. Click around to make sure it gets selected. Then we select it again just to be sure, and we test it again. You can see it's working here, Availability Request, and it shows on the results pane on the bottom, and it's highlighted in your test document. Now you know it's working correctly. When we look at the test document, we see that the date and time is separated by a few tokens from the availability request. So we want to have date and time, some token, and availability request extracted. And that's how we're starting to create this logical sequence. We click on the proximity rule and we give it 1 to 10. And we place it in between the two, just like it is here in the test document. I'll just move ability request here. I take 1 to 10, I drag it, and then I take my availability request and I drag it as well. Now I select this new logical sequence as a whole, and we'll give it a try. As you can see on the bottom, we have the entire sequence, and then we have the two components that we created earlier. It's working correctly. I click on it here and I see it highlighted just like we expected to. We will now extract a transaction number to help reconciliate with a data warehouse, for example. We will create a regular expression extractor. We call it trans number. Once you click on it, you select it, then you enter the regular expression, which is a simple looking for 10 digits, so lowercase d, in between brackets 10. That's 10 digits. We can test it, select it, click on the go button, and you can see it comes right up here. Now we create a proximity rule and we'll integrate it with what we already have. So we know there's about 10, 15 tokens or words in between the two. I click on proximity. I give it 10 to 25. Now I integrate all that together, drag it over here, and bring my transaction number as well. Now we select the whole sequence and we test it, and we can see the bottom, got my date time, availability request, which is what I'm looking for, transaction number. You can see now it's really starting to take shape. At this point, we want to extract a car class. When we look at the last thing we extracted, which was a transaction number, and we look at car class, we see that there's quite a bit of distance between the two in the log file. So what we're going to do to eliminate false positives is anchor it with a literal. When examining the file for trends, we've noticed that it's always preceded by PRD plus colon. I click on the literal button, which is essentially a one-word dictionary, and I put PRD plus colon, and we'll test it. You can see here it's PRD plus, so it's working, and we can see that it's always right before a car class. To extract a car class, let's create a regular expression. We click on the regular expression button. We're going to call it car class. Not hugely inventive, but it really describes what we're doing. And we're going to use backslash lower p between brackets uppercase L, followed by closing the square bracket and then having between brackets 4 to 5. This is a shortcut code that will extract Unicode words between 4 and 5 characters. Now, if we test that, we will see that it gets everything that's between 4 and 5 character words, and that's a lot of false positives. But this is where the logical sequences and really the power of this tool really comes into play. If we combine that in a logical sequence, then we can test, we would see that all of those false positives get eliminated. Here you can see the blue that still gets extracted, but that's not what really gets in the sequence. It's what's in green now. And it's all the right literal, and it's of course all the right car classes. So we know it's working correctly. We're going to integrate that with our existing sequence. Looking at the file, we know that there's somewhere around 195 tokens in between the transaction code and the car class. We use that as a guide. We create a new proximity rule, 1 to 195, and then we include it as part of the sequence. Now we use our anchor, and we put the car class in there, and now we test the entire sequence to make sure everything is working correctly. And it's working beautifully. Now you can see everything that gets extracted as a whole. You have the different fields or the different components that are extracted, and everything looks great. Availability request, transaction number, car class. Next, we're going to create a proximity rule of 1 to 30 tokens. And after that, we create a new regex called VRRate. In VRRate, we're going to put the following code. Now this is quite simple. First, we're escaping 2 to 3 digits, so lowercase d, 2, 3, and a period and 2 more digits. This will essentially get a number between 10 and 999 with 2 decimals, which is perfect for our rate. I will test my VRRate. Works correctly. I bring it along with the sequence. Now we can test the entire sequence. This is working correctly. Now I'll do a 1 token proximity rule, and I will create the following literal, which is USD for currency. Now we will take the 1 token proximity rule and integrate it, and we will put the currency as well. I can test the entire sequence. It's working correctly. The 1 token proximity rule is for a colon between VRRate and USD. Now I will tweak the output of the entire sequence by calling the last literal as currency. That'll look nicer. We can test it. If it hasn't been renamed already, you can click here and rename it log extraction cars or something like that. Now that it is complete, we can save it by simply clicking on save and then putting it in the appropriate library. And finally, we can get the output to Excel by simply selecting it again, then clicking on the blue icon that's on the lower left-hand corner near the output pane. Here we can specify the output. I will exclude the span offset, which is the position characters where it appears in the file. Without it, it looks prettier. I click on OK. And I can either save the file or open it in Explorer. I'll just open it in Explorer. And if you want to have the entire sequence, you double click here. Here's our output with all the fields, all the columns that we had. And I'll show it here. Same as the output we had earlier, but now it's conveniently located in your favorite Excel spreadsheet for further analysis or manipulation. Thanks for taking the time for watching this tutorial. We hope you found it interesting and learned some good techniques. Have a great day.